Hi guys, this is Isha from the Observational Astrologer, looking at the chart of Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex. So as I mentioned on my Instagram page, I've generally been intrigued about why Meghan Markle gets such bad press all the time. I've recently watched a video of someone calling her a social climber and even a sociopath, which is quite extreme, given that all she's made is basically a really boring TV show. Um, I agree that she's quite out of touch with the time, and there are all kinds of things one can call her, but just the level of hatred she gets is extreme. So I thought, let's look at her Vedic astrology birth chart and make a video on the energies in her chart currently that are causing her so much grief and pain. So, when we open Meghan Markle's Vedic birth chart, we see that she was born with a Vargottama Cancer Lagna. Now, Vargottama is made up of two words. It's Varga and Uttama. Varga means a division or a divisional chart. Typically, in Vedic astrology, when you say something is Vargottama, either the Lagna or the planets, it's typically your D9 Navamsha chart, which shows your life after marriage. It's also the chart of your Bhagya. So it's a very, very important chart. And Uttama is positive. So when you have a Lagna that remains the same across the birth chart and the Navamsha, it's a very positive thing. It shows someone with a lot of confidence, a lot of poise, a lot of fortitude to forge ahead and accomplish things in life. So it's very positive. She was born at 0 degrees and 41 minutes of Cancer, and her Lagna is in the nakshatra of Punarvasu. Now, Punarvasu is the nakshatra of Lord Ram, and there's a lot of people online who can give all the details about what Punarvasu is. But one thing to remember is, why is Punarvasu considered such a positive nakshatra? Yes, it's the nakshatra of Lord Ram, but Punarvasu implies eventual victory, which is why it's such a positive nakshatra. It's loaded by Aditi, the mother of the Adityas. So there's a lot of abundance and light and positivity in it. However, it's important to remember that Punarvasu, the main theme of Punarvasu is renewal, struggle, like recycling, remodeling, and sort of after all of that effort, reaching success. And you just have to look at the life of Lord Ram to see that yes, he got eventual victory, but it came at a huge cost. A huge part of his life was involved, had a lot of strife and fight. Yes, he had to fight. He had a lot of opponents and people against him, enemies that came about who he had to fight. So whilst a Punarvasu Lagna or even a moon nakshatra is a positive thing, you must remember that such people have to go through a lot of struggle and renewals in life before they reach success, before they hit success. Okay, so then we see Lagna Lord Moon. Where has it gone? What does that show us? So Lagna Lord Moon has gone into the third house of communication, writing, acting, skills of hands, etc. Conjunct Saturn, which is the 7th and the 8th lord, not the best planet for a Cancer Lagna, and conjunct Jupiter, which is the 6th and the 9th lord. So let's take these one at a time. First off, even if Saturn wasn't a difficult planet for Cancer Lagna, a Moon-Saturn conjunction is very heavy for anyone, even for a Taurus ascendant where Saturn is a Yoga Karaka planet. Because of what Saturn implies, it's a malefic. It shows hard work, determination, depression. So a Saturn-Moon conjunction will bring depression, depressive thoughts, negativity, and a heaviness to that moon. You can argue that it's conjunct Jupiter, which is a very positive planet for Cancer Lagna. It's 9th lord. And this might be a slightly contentious topic, but a lot of astrologers, traditional astrologers, will say that because Jupiter for Cancer Lagna rules that 9th house, the dosha of the 6th house goes away because it rules such a positive house. I've not always found that in my experience, very short experience so far. Yes, it's a positive planet, but the 6th house impact of prarabdha, facing enemies and obstacles, doesn't go away in my experience. Moreover, Jupiter in Meghan's chart is sitting in the third house. The third house is the Marana Karaka Sthana for Jupiter. Now, I've gone over this extensively in a previous video I did about O.J. Simpson's chart. But effectively, and if I go into it really, really quickly, Marana Karaka Sthana are specific placements for the 9 planets where they feel dead. Marana literally means dead. They're not dying and they're not dead, and it doesn't mean that an individual will die. But it basically means that the core qualities of that planet are not able to come out. So we see this Jupiter, even though it is 9th lord, is turning malefic in her chart. Now, Saturn is 7th lord, representing Prince Harry or other relationships that she might have had. And Jupiter is a 9th lord, representing her father. She's been running her Jupiter Dasha since 2015, when I think that's when a lot of this negativity and hatred around Meghan Markle began. And I believe in 2018 she got married to Prince Harry, and that's when she had this really public falling out with her father, who came out into the press and he called her all kinds of names. And I actually haven't read much about it, but I think he called her a social climber and gold digger and whatever else. And she had this very, very public falling out with her father. And you can see that Saturn, Moon, Jupiter causing huge pressure to the mind. And I think there was a recent interview with her where she said that she had suicidal thoughts, negativity. All of that is very clearly seen, and you can see that she will go through these problems in her Jupiter Dasha that she is currently running. Now, as we mentioned, this is the main pain point in her chart. It's the third house. Now, third house is what? It's written communication. It's tabloids. So if 9th house is higher communication, it's higher education, it's books, then third house is the lower end of that communication. So it's gossip, it's tabloids, it's newspapers, it's magazines. And you can see that through this period, she's had a lot of negativity coming out through third house themes. So people online, media houses, tabloids, magazines are coming out and saying a lot of negative things about her. And that's what's been happening for her since her Jupiter Dasha began. Now, to add insult to injury, the 3 planets, Moon, Saturn, and Jupiter, sitting in that third house, are also in Graha Yuddha. Graha Yuddha is a concept in Vedic astrology where planets sitting in very close degrees in a certain sign are essentially at war. They're in Graha Yuddha. And there is a method to determine who is the winner, who is the loser. But even outside of that assignment, if you go ahead and you can see who is the winner, who is the loser. The point is that there is a war going on in this third house. And whoever is the winner, whoever is the loser, ultimately that individual is suffering in that third house. And that's what's been happening in her life. And you can see that very, very clearly. The saving grace, and I must say this, for Meghan Markle is that the moon, which is part of this fraught conjunction, is actually in Parivartan Yoga with Mercury, which is sitting in the Lagna with Rahu and Sun. What is Parivartan Yoga? Parivartan Yoga is when 2 planets exchange signs. So in Meghan's chart, Meghan has her Lagna Lord Moon sitting in Virgo, lorded by Mercury, and Mercury sitting in Cancer, lorded by the Moon. So the 2 planets feel like they are exchanging signs. Mercury feels like it's coming into Virgo, which is its exaltation sign. It's also its own sign. And Moon feels like she is going into Cancer. In reality, the planets are not changing signs. They are where they are. They're very, very fixed. But it does help. It's a saving grace. And I think that's what's probably saved her so far, other than the fact that she has a Vargotama Lagna, which makes her strong. And she also has a Sun, Mercury, and Rahu in her first house in her Lagna. Now, Sun, sitting in the Lagna, Sun and Mercury are they're Karakas of the Lagna of the first house. And they're both sitting in the first house. So that's very, very positive. Sun lords the second house. So you can see, and Sun means fame. So you can see the fame is coming from second house themes, which is her speech, it's her family. Now, what kind of family you might ask? Second house has her Uppapada Lagna, so family of marriage in that case, and her wealth. So she is famous for all of these things. Additionally, you see Venus sitting in the second house. Venus is already a karaka for wealth, positive theme. It's also, it can also be spouse, more spouse for a man, but definitely even for a woman, you will see Venus, although it's Jupiter more. We also see that Venus lords the 11th house. So 11th lord is sitting in the second house. 11th house is liquid gains. Second house is earned money. So this is a classic Dhan Yoga, the lord of one wealth house going into another, bringing her wealth. If we look at the transits in her chart, if we look at what's been happening transit-wise, we can see that Jupiter has been transiting her 11th house. Now, she got this very favorable contract with Netflix that she signed. She made a lot of money from it, and I believe her show has also been renewed for a second season. She must have made a lot of connections because 11th house is connections. But simultaneously, we've had Ketu transiting Virgo, that third house with the Jupiter, Saturn, Moon conjunction, and Rahu transiting the ninth house. So having the Rahu Ketu axis go over this very difficult conjunction has caused a lot of problems to her. It's why people are up in the arms, people are talking about her, they're coming out and saying negative things about her, etc. Now, the transit wise, that Ketu is going to move. It's going to move into the second house, and Rahu is going to move into the eighth house. Again, not the easiest, but at least it's moving out of that. It's moving out of that axis, which is already quite fraught. Now, she's had Saturn transiting her eighth house, which is Ashtama Shani. Now, although it's not from her moon sign, it's still from her lagna. Ashtama Shani is very hard. It can show just roadblocks and stumbles and problems that one doesn't foresee. So things that sort of come out of nowhere, that's a very classic sign of Ashtama Shani. Or problems that you have ignored and you think is not going to be a problem, it sort of comes back and bites you. So an example of this would be her filming this lifestyle cooking show that she filmed, thinking, I'll get great publicity, I've got a Netflix contract, I'm going to make money. And yes, that Jupiter 11th house did do that. You know, she did make money. But the unforeseen consequences were all that negative press, people coming out and saying negative things about her, the backbiting, etc. Just final points on her chart. We see Rahu Ketu axis in the first and seventh house. Again, quite complicated. Ketu in the seventh can show mistakes in partnership because Ketu is effectively a mistake. It's also a planet that shows our past life memories. And wherever Ketu sits is an area that we have already accomplished, things we've already done in life. So in this lifetime, one can have a slightly a critical attitude towards that house. One can make mistakes in that house. And one cannot pay attention to the house because one is running towards Rahu. Rahu is what one needs to accomplish in a particular life. It's something that we haven't worked on before. So Rahu in the Lagna shows all her attention is on herself, about her promotion of herself, learning things because it's that Mercury third house going into the Lagna, promoting herself. And I don't mean these things negatively. Rahu in the Lagna means you haven't focused on yourself and you must focus on yourself in this lifetime. But consequent to that, because 180 degrees from Rahu is always Ketu, Ketu sitting in the seventh means she's had experience of relationships and marriages in a previous life. So in this life, she's likely to pay less attention to them. And I believe she did have a marriage before Prince Harry's, the marriage with Prince Harry that didn't work out. Ketu in that seventh is therefore hard. It can show her and Prince Harry coming together for karmic reasons. I'm not saying that her marriage with Prince Harry will not work out or anything of that sort, but it's just a general comment on her attitude towards other people, because seventh house is the world in general. If the first house is you, yourself, your body, seventh house is everyone else. So another example of Ketu in the seventh can mean someone who will have difficulty or make mistakes going into business with other people or interacting with other people. And every time she interacts with people, she tries to go on TV and do interviews or whatever, it all comes out wrong. whatever her ultimate um, intentions may be. So this was a very, very quick look at Meghan Markle's chart, looking at the current dasha she's going through and the transits. Um, that Jupiter dasha will end. It's a 16-year long dasha, and she's halfway through it. It will end. So better days will follow. Um, I don't hold any ill will towards her. I hope things go well for her. But this was just an interesting look at her chart to see why she gets so much hate, so much negativity in the press. Um, I've just thought of something. Another person who is recently getting a lot of bad press and negativity is Blake Lively. And if I get her birth details online, which are reliable, I'm gonna do a video on her chart. So stay tuned. Thank you for watching.